Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm David Duarte, your host for today's episode of Culture Before Content. We are so glad you could join us here on the Music for All podcast network. And thanks to Yamaha, our national presenting sponsor, for their incredible support in bringing this to you. At Music for All, and for all of us here really in the Culture Before Content community, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music. Now, let's talk about some things. Facebook, YouTube. The reason you're watching this, maybe if you're watching, I guess you really can't watch it on the ears. But anyway, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, think about liking and sharing this broadcast. If you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, and don't hesitate to leave comments. You could leave one now. Like for example, hey, it's 76 degrees where I'm at. What's the temperature where you're at? If you prefer listening to the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those are typically available to you starting on Monday. Just keep a lookout for them or subscribe and they will show up. But now let's talk about why we're here today. Culture. So last week on the show, we had Jarrell Horton, and we talked about the importance of building a solid band culture centered on authentic relationships, student leadership, and shared goals. Jarrell emphasized teaching beyond music, focusing on personal growth and creating a supportive, inclusive environment, which was amazing. Horton shared his strategies for engaging students and parents, the impact of United Sound on his program, and the concept of Lego leadership, where each individual's unique skills contribute to the overall band success, which I found to be amazing. So, without any further ado, let's get to our guest this week. I'm very excited. I get to have more than one person on the show. So please welcome to the show, husband and wife team, Katie and Todd Ebert.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, welcome to the show. Oh, I forgot to say where you're from. Well, now they know where you're from. So why don't we just start with this? Why don't you tell us where you're from? Take a minute and introduce yourself to our audience.
We are located in North Carolina, right below Charlotte, about 30 minutes south, and it's about 90 degrees here today.
Ugh.
We teach at a one-to-one feeder, Cuthbertson Middle School and High School, and it's in Waxhaw, North Carolina. So she's one middle school feeds my one high school. So it's everybody lives right there in the little cluster.
Okay, I'm a little envious. So your feeder is your own family. So yeah, so you don't have to worry about, well, I guess you don't have to worry about anything in terms of feeding.
No, you have to know where your strengths and your weaknesses are, because your weaknesses will follow you for all 7 years. Now, when we started teaching together, we were in Georgia, and her middle school fed 2 different high schools, and I was one of them. And then moving to North Carolina, we got our graduate degree, and this opportunity opened up. They were looking for sort of that team camaraderie, and we were lucky enough to get the job.
So why don't we talk a little bit about that shared responsibility they have? Because I know, it's one thing to build a culture in a high school. It's another thing to build a culture in a middle school. But it would probably appear to me, and my guess is for our audience, is that you've built a culture from grades. It starts in grade 6. Is that correct? Yeah. So you kind of built a 6 through 12 culture, and maybe you can give us some of the secrets that you have on like the transition. Because I know for most high school band directors, at least myself, that the transition is always the worry of when you're going to pick those kids up going from 8th grade to 9th grade. So maybe talk a little about your culture of 6 through 12 and maybe how it's the same and how it's different.
Well, all of our students, they go directly to the high school. So every student that we teach for band, those are the only band students we have at the high school. So it really behooves us to make sure that everybody is doing a great job. Quality, quality, quality. That's something that we really focus on. But we also focus on fun. You've got to have fun in this job. The kids want to have fun. We want to have fun. So I think we've done a pretty good job of incorporating that into the program.
The transition from 6th grade on up allows, well, first off, me as the high school director, I'm there a lot, and I'm over there working with the 8th grade, the 7th grade, being stupid in the 6th grade classes, walking over there in the morning, doing all this stuff. And I get to basically be the cheerleader or the person that walks in that it can be quality control, but I think my mission more is just to engage with the students on a personal level. They don't necessarily see me as band director because I'm not the one on the podium all the time. I'm the one making balloon animals in the corner trying to disrupt their band director. And it's this give and take that I think builds that culture where they're excited about coming to the classroom each day.
It's almost like sometimes they don't know what to expect. What kind of a day is it going to be? Is it a balloon animal type of day?
Be prepared for anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's life advice right there. Be prepared for anything. You never know when it's going to hit you.
Mhm.
And so, some of that alignment between the middle and high school bands is so like thinking about, how when you start the kids and, instrumentation, is there any secrets you have to the instrumentation as they go through the schools? Do you have do color instruments come at a later time? Do they, how have you fulfilled some of that destiny?
All right. So I go over to the elementary schools to do the recruiting, get the kids excited about band, excited about the culture they're coming into. They can choose the instrument. We do instrument testing. So they get a chance to try an instrument for, 5 seconds per instrument. And then they get to choose what they want to play. And yes, some years I may end up with 25 saxophones. That happened 2 years ago, and that is okay because we can eventually move to bass clarinet. We can move to bassoon, oboe, percussion. So basically, in 6th grade, they play what they want to play. And if it looks like a student has a particular aptitude on a certain instrument or a personality that would go well on a different instrument, we can move them. We have that flexibility. I start everything except percussion. Yes.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
just want to say for our listener out there before you get going is the website is popped up. It's cuthbertsonbands.org, CUTHBERTSON bands.org. We're looking at it right now. And by the way, your website is fantastic. I got down to a lot of it. I was just actually checking out the saxophone thing on the sax. That's my major instrument. So I was checking out the little links because you have links for every instrument on there. But yeah, cuthbertsonbands.org. Take a look at it. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. One of the great things we have at our program is we have this Tri-M organization, but within that we have a free melodies program. And so these 5th graders, they're going to come over and they're going to get rental nights. Everybody does the rental nights, but what we'll do is we'll have a bunch of high school kids there. And these are the high school kids that are marching band leadership, concert band leadership, have been through the training, have been through the stuff. And they can sign up with a rising 6th grader to give them lessons over the summer. And the students earn their their service hours, their volunteer hours. And then these 6th graders now come in already knowing how to put the instrument together. They already know how to do the first note. And the great thing about it is it wasn't taught by some adult. It was a peer. It was another high school kid working with a middle school kid, and they form a bond. I mean, they see them in the hallway, they see them at football games, and it really starts that 6th grade off so strong because half of them are doing this. They come already knowing some of that stuff. And then, tell them about what the ones that come from that, they start working with the ones who didn't do it. And I mean, you're playing music by the first week of school.
Yeah, they become the class leaders for the others. Not only does that make them feel good about themselves, especially as a 6th grader coming to middle school, that can be very, very challenging. But they get a sense of, oh, I found my place. I'm a leader here. I'm valued. And that you just can't put a price on that.
Yeah, and those high school kids, they actually, the way the school is set up, the high school ends at 3, but 6th grade starts about 2:45. So my high schoolers, my high schoolers come down after school, and they'll go in that 6th grade classroom and they'll stand around and play with the kids. They'll do private lessons. They'll sit in the ensemble. They'll demonstrate stuff, modeling. It's a whole big scaffolding thing. It does mean that we can't do things right after school for the first hour and a half. Like our marching band won't start till 4:30. But that means we can pull from some of those middle schoolers, and it's great.
Oh, so I was reading on Facebook today. Somebody was like, "Hey, can you post your marching band schedule? What time does your marching band meet outside of school?"
Okay, so this year we're trying something new. We always get stuck in the heat restrictions, and like last year we tried to do this spring training where we learned the first couple of sets, couple of songs, and then we got into school. and we were 3 weeks without being outside due to the weather, the heat and the rain. So this year we're going to do a Friday Night Lights band, which we've got, a lot of participation. They show up to just the 6 home games and they just play in the stands. I'm going to do easy drill, like 4 sets, stand still. We got the dance team that's going to come out there. The cheerleaders, I spent like $50 and bought like these little foam fingers. So I got the cheerleaders that are going to toss them into the student section. And we're doing, stuff that the kids picked, they're like pop tunes. And I think that's going to be fun. Now, the marching band actually is going to start meeting right after school at 4:30, and we'll do 2 days a week. And we'll start competing mid-October. That's later for us. Normally, we start right mid-September, so we're pushing back a month. But hopefully, we can avoid the weather. And we already did our spring training, so we already have the first half of the show done.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. This is new for us. We're all about trying something new. Anything that can give the students something fresh and try and avoid those obstacles. Because, every year you show up to band camp, it's like, okay, here goes the weather. How many days are we going to miss? We haven't dealt with that this year.
Well, that brings up another good topic that you guys are talking about, which is buy-in to the program. And it seems like you've got buy-in from the students. Maybe talk a little bit about, because it sounds like your sense of community is awesome. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the parent community, the community itself, the school community, maybe some of those kinds of things.
Sure. We have a fantastic booster organization. They are always willing to help out and support the students in any way that they can. They fundraise for us. They do concession events at the local stadiums for us. They're just terrific. Our parents are very wonderful. And they know that there's a history of success. I mean, we've worked hard to build this program. This is our 16th year as a school now. And so they are invested in the program because they've seen that what we've done has been effective, it works, and we just make it fun to be around, fun to be a part of.
When we opened the school, we only had 20 or so kids in the high school. This was back in 2009. So we had one band class. And so I would do the one band class. Yeah, we had one band class at the high school, and I would do that one band class with those 20 some odd kids. And then the rest of the day was at the middle school. And we're very isolated. We're 45 minutes from the nearest college campus in any direction. So finding a lot of staff is very hard. So when Katie and I took the position, it was basically just her and I just in the trenches working with the kids. And we would utilize the kids for as much as we could. Hey, you need someone to teach that middle schooler how to play, the district solo? Well, I got a high schooler. And so that camaraderie of bringing those high schoolers into the middle school element, I think, is what we've found that allows us, because we have, a couple dozen middle schoolers that are going to march this year with Friday nights or competitive band. And those are going to be the kids that are going to be Katie's, district kids, all state kids, first chair. For crying out loud, what she plays with the middle school, I have a hard time keeping up.
Well, it's all about quality and excellence. That's kind of something we push the kids to be about. And so when the 6th graders join the band, they are told you're part of something great. And it's going to be as great as you make it. And so giving them opportunities to step up, and that helps the parents say, oh, they're part of something really exceptional, and we want our kid to keep doing this. How can I help? How can I support?
Well, speaking of exceptional, a little bird told me that you've gotten some good state and national recognition, or you've taken your band somewhere. Can you share some of the places that your bands have played?
Yeah, well, I'm humble. Okay, so we've done national. Okay, so when I started teaching, it was in long time ago, rural South Georgia, and I didn't know anything about national circuits or anything. I thought I'm going to be a band director and do my Friday night show. And Katie and I started working together, and she actually introduced me from her high school, Lassiter. She introduced me to Bands of America. We started going to some of the competitions to watch, and I realized that there was more of a world out there than just my little Friday night circuit. And so we really started working on building the culture of going to these national events. And we've been to National Concert Band 3 times. We've been to the regional events. I really like those. Katie's been with the middle school twice?
I think it's 2 times. Yeah.
2 times, and I've been 2 times. We've played the college circuit. Like, she played University of Georgia. I played University of Georgia. There's not a lot of circuits out there for middle schools to go play like these college honor bands. Because I played USC, Georgia.
We've done state convention at the middle school 3 times, last year being our 3rd, and the high school's up to play for their 3rd time this year.
Yeah, we're going to play the first time we played convention. We played it the same year together. Never that again. Nope.
It was the same year we just had our baby, so she's 12 now. But that was a lot, playing middle and high school convention, child, infant. That was tough.
Yeah, we didn't expect to get in with our recordings, and so we submitted both schools, and both were accepted. We won't do that again.
I want to say that to our audience though, because I just did a similar thing to me. Submit. You'd be shocked. I once won a national contest, and I did the same thing. I don't think I just want to submit it. I thought it was something fun to do for the kids, and then we won. And it just changed it changed the whole perspective. It also changed my program because I learned something valuable today. So what are some of the things that event has taught you, or playing at the conferences? What are the things that have taught you? Because you say, well, I wasn't doing so much when I came out of college, but now you have learned a secret system in a place that you say not necessarily might not have worked, but now you've got a whole system going and you've created a culture of excellence. How has it defined you?
Well, for me, I like to put the kids in front of other kids. For me, the National Concert Band stuff and that chamber festival, that's the top of the top for me, because it puts kids playing for other kids. And I think that peer-to-peer relationship is the most important thing. And, we're going to play convention this year, and it's going to be great. We're going to have a whole bunch of band directors there to watch us, and family and parents, but I'll probably pay extra to get buses to haul up our kids to watch us, because I think that playing for peers is the most important thing. So when we started looking at events, we started looking at playing for these college honor bands, because you're playing for a bunch of other kids, and just like marching band, you play for the kids. I wish I could get all the kids in the school to come to the concert band, because that's really the culture at our school, is concert band. Yeah.
I would say being at these high level events and being a watcher of other bands, it helps you to experience, well, what is awesome? What is that level of quality that we can strive for in our program? What are our obstacles that we'll need to overcome to make it to this event? And I think for me, I use each one as kind of a marker. Where am I at professionally? Am I teaching my kids the way they need to be taught to represent from our area really well? And these are lifelong memories, both for myself and the students.
And when I build it like an ensemble. Your focus is the class ensemble. That's top of everything. Any audition out of that is second. Any performance out of that is second. It's what you do every day in rehearsal. And, a lot of rehearsals, they're not always like, fun is great, but you got to understand that you're in those rehearsals to learn something you couldn't do. And so there must be a rigor. There must be a struggle. You've got to get the kids to understand that I'm not here to play stuff that I already know. I'm here to learn how to play this, which I can't do. And here's that guy up there standing on the box that's going to tell me how to do it. But ultimately, I have to make that choice to do it myself. And I think that's where the leadership comes from, because you're going to see those 11th and 12th graders accomplishing that. The 9th and 10th graders are going to want to do that as well. And then, of course, when you wrap the middle school into it, now you've got these kids that are, they're just concert banding all the way up through 12th grade.
I also think something we think about is the rep itself versus who you're playing for. So it's getting the opportunity to play an amazing piece of music and to work to that kind of a high level on that piece. So I think at each of our performances, there's pieces that stand out to me that, hey, we couldn't have done this in the past, but now we worked hard and look at what we played. We played this piece, or we played this piece, pieces that really touch our hearts and touch our students' hearts. Todd's at the point now where the kids tell him what they want to play and they encourage him, and he has to listen to what they say and take their advice.
We do so much playing of music for them and exposing them to different musics, and bringing in composers, commissioning pieces, everything outside the performance. They come in the office and they'll sit down and they'll be 20 or 30. We'll have a clinician in, and it'll be funny because they'll be on the couch and we'll be talking about the rehearsal. And here comes my 15 kids that are going to sit down on the floor with their lunch and talk to the clinician. You'd be surprised. They are so interested in meeting these people in the higher levels of band and composers. It's just, yeah, the ensemble. Everything else is a la carte.
Yeah, but what kind of effect has it had on the kid? I mean, what are like some of the things that you've noticed that the kids get from playing for these, these clinicians and playing at these conferences? What kind of effect has it brought to you on your kids?
Well, they're proud of themselves and the work that they've put in. It's nice to have that kind of a big goal so you can perform at your highest level. It really helps them having that goal in mind that, hey, you're going to play for all the band directors. Are you happy with the way that it sounds right now? And of course, they're their hardest critics. They'll say, no, we're not happy with this. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? It really flips the classroom around in the other direction.
Also, bringing in these people makes it real world relevant for them. I'll have as many college directors as I can get in, as many times as I can get them into the classroom. I'll let them come in. I'll tell you, just come in, work the band. I'll get them a hotel room. The boosters are great. They put up so many people for me during the year. Anybody I can get to come in, seriously, like anybody, I'll fly them in. We're working on their music. I'll try and get the composer in because they want that real world interaction, and it allows them to have a skill set, because when they go to the college, they're able to speak in that college terminology. They're able to talk to the college directors in a way that is a relationship, not I'm just a student and I want to be in college. No, it brings them to because they've been conversing with these college people. They know them. They've been to the colleges, and the composers, they play that music and they love it. And they start learning about the composers. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah, and you spoke about repertoire, and so what kind of effect has it had on your repertoire selection on your schools? Has it opened your eyes? Have you found different ways to pick music, or has it expanded your universe, so to speak?
I'd say we listen to a variety of music and then play a lot of it for the students. One piece that's become a standard in our program, we tell this story to the students every year. We just had a fun time telling it last year, even the sixth graders. And that's A Child's Garden of Dreams by David Maslanka. It's amazing how every student buys into this story. It's about 5 different nightmares this little girl experienced. And every kid is invested in, oh my gosh, I've had nightmares too. They connect to the music.
We give this to the middle schoolers, and we play it for them, and we talk about the music and how difficult it is, and we show them screenshots of the music and the score. And as we go through the process, they'll hear it every year. Now, this is what I do when I think I might want to play a piece. I experienced Child's Garden when I was in my graduate program, and I wanted to play Child's Garden. So we started working with the kids in 6th grade, and it's just this multi-year building process, because you got to have if you're playing at that high level, you got to have all the bells and whistles. If I want a piccolo trumpet this year, I can't wait till this year to build a piccolo trumpet. I got to start 2-3 years back. And that's where the culture comes in. Because if you don't have a culture of these instruments turning over, this year, my alto clarinet's graduating. I love Percy Grainger music. I love the alto clarinet. And so every year we have kids fighting to play the alto clarinet, and we have auditions, and it's fun because they want to play the alto clarinet, because the culture is that it's valuable.
I think it's funny you say that, because I believe it's all of us as band directors. It's what we make of it that affects our students. It's funny you say that, because my alto clarinet, I had to get the F sharp. My F sharp got a little messed up. I got to get that fixed, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's go back. So also, my little bird told me that you've been doing some hosting at the summer symposium, or I'm sorry, at the National Concert Band Festival. You've been doing some hosting as well. Is that true?
Yes, we were both hosts last year. It was an incredible experience to see it from the other side, to see.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we're not having a band there performing, but helping another band go through that process and being supportive and taking care of any issues, because we know the issues that come up. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, it was really great to see, because we didn't have the stress of having the kids there, the performance. We were able to relax. We were able to socialize and talk to the people, and leading through that process allows you to see it from a different angle. I got to watch Mallory Thompson do a clinic, and it wasn't me standing there after the performance, trying to get my adrenaline down. I actually got to sit there and watch, and that was so valuable for me, watching her do that clinic. Yeah. I would put that out to anybody. Take your bands, go by yourself. There's more than just the bands there, because you've got the director track and all that stuff. Yeah.
What would you say was one of the biggest takeaways from that?
just getting a chance to support and give back to others, because we've been where they are right now, getting the performance prepared, working with the students, getting a chance to help them have their students shine and give them the best performance opportunities available. I'd say also getting a chance to listen to other bands, because we get to hear them. That's just going to help elevate my expectation for my students and help me be the best teacher for them that I can be.
Yeah, I would say for me, seeing behind the scenes, when I've got a band there, like I said, I'm very hands-on. So I'm constantly trying to be there with the kids and handle all the kids stuff. And I just never noticed the behind the scenes work. And when you pull that veil over and you see all the people that are working to make this event great, and I mean, it's just the logistics of the hotels alone is massive.
Did you pick up anything, like maybe not something musical, like maybe did you pick up an app? Did you pick up a book? Did you pick up that's one of the things that I notice is when I go watch something is I'll get something new that just sparks me.
I'd say hearing the high level performances always sparks me, because it sparks my imagination for what can my students accomplish? Am I teaching them the skill set to do this, to shine in this way?
I would say for me, having the opportunity to walk around and see the different cultures in the bands, just sitting in the lunchroom and watching how everybody interacts, and some bands are loud, some bands are not. And I think a lot of people, they follow the culture that their band director sets. I always heard when I was young that if your band's a little crazy, it's probably because the director's a little crazy. And, you can kind of see that. And I never noticed that before. I guess I was so engrossed in my own kids and my own, trying to play this high level music as a high school person without a safety net. I never noticed the behind the scenes. And that was the biggest takeaway for me, was how many friends there are at Music for All. It's not just a bunch of people getting together to clinic bands. I mean, those people actually know each other, and they come once a year to reconnect on a musical level and support. Yeah. The clinicians too, they are all super invested in making everybody better, which is not the same when you start talking about assessment. A lot of times when you have to put that number on a page, it kind of blurs the line between maybe being completely honest about this would help you in the future. I saw Mallory Thompson do that with her band that she was clinicking. She knew that they still had another performance, and she was specifically looking at, in her clinic, the way that it would help them when they got back to Texas. It was a band from Texas. And I was really engrossed in that, because she was like, okay, so when you go to UIL, I believe it's UIL in Texas, yep, this and this and this. And she was very detailed. And that's what you want to see when a clinician comes in. Tell the band something they didn't already know.
That's just amazing, because like I said, between the National Concert Band Festival, there's two sides to it that a lot of people don't realize. There's the performance side, and then there's you can do the hosting side. And I think it's something for everyone to look at and look. And again, you also mentioned the regional festivals as well. They're popping up everywhere, and I would encourage everyone to find one and go to one. And maybe last thought on this, and then we'll move back to the program. Maybe what's the biggest takeaway or thought about just the whole National Concert Band Festival?
I was able to go as a student back in, 1993, and also in 95 as well. So I remember those events from my student days, and I became very passionate about these high level performances, Music for All, how supportive. That's the biggest thing. Playing for amazing people that support you at whatever stage of development you're at as a teacher. Everybody is so supportive. They want to see you do your best. They want to be there for you and your students. There's no other events like it.
And it's an opportunity to have a bookmark in the program. The years we've have been bookmarks, and the program can be judged by these events that we've gone to. And the students look back, they'll go back and find we used to have the CDs. Oh, I remember the CDs. Oh man, I tell you what, I discovered the possibility when I got that credit card and started teaching. I had all the CDs. Katie got mad at me, but I would get those CDs and I would play them for the kids, and I would tell them, look, this is real kids playing the music. It's not, a studio band. It's not, professional people, or even a college band is different, because they don't have the same amount of time, same amount of talent structure. So I would give them these CDs and we would listen, and those would be sort of our model to what we should accomplish, the the role model. So by going to Music for All, you're creating those bookmarks at the National Concert Band Festival of these amazing events, which your students are they're gonna return to and listen to again. They're gonna remember it. Yeah, it's lifelong.
So that means you said some things that sparked it. So now that kind of leads me back to the students in the program. So there's got to be some type of student leadership that you have in both of your programs. You talked about the private lessons, but what other kind of student leadership things have you guys invested in?
Okay, so well, with student leadership, it's whoever wants something gets something. Find something to do. You see something, you do it. If you have an idea, let's do it. We have traditional drum majors. We have a traditional concertmaster who is my first year clarinet. And then anybody else that wants a leadership position, I'll try and give it to them. It doesn't matter what it is, photocopying, library. Within our trium, we have a full executive council, and then we have the different committees for playing for the birthday for all the faculty. And our free melodies, like I say, we've got like 60 different students that are staffed for that, 60 different mentors that teach. So a lot of them are pulled to leadership for mentoring stuff. As far as a traditional leadership structure, I wouldn't say I've done the same thing twice every year, because sometimes every senior needs a leadership position. Sometimes you're going to give your first chair. Sometimes it's not your first chair that's your best leader. Sometimes it's that third chair guy sitting down there that the kids all like. You got to find the person that's personable and can actually teach the stuff, not just does well in an interview. I don't like interviews for leadership positions.
At the middle school level, we do the first chair players. It's not super strict. A lot of times the students will decide, oh, well, this is definitely the better player. Or generally I'll have a couple of trombone players that kind of alternate back and forth and push each other to some higher levels. So it's not super strict. But I'd say for me at the middle school, it's students who are passionate about music. They'll come into the band room in the morning before school and just use that time to practice. They'll play together. They'll come in sometimes during their lunchtime. Just the middle school band room's a safe spot for them. And these students become really passionate and then gather other students towards them. And they become this big conglomeration of band.
And our rooms are open for anything. Like when we opened the school, we didn't have enough kids for a drum line. So I started a rock band because I had a bass guitar and a drum set player. And we had rock band all the way up till I think 2015, 2016. We actually won a trip from the John Lennon recording studio on YouTube. You can find our rock band. Yeah, a little shameless plug for my rock band. But then, it went away for a couple of years, and then COVID happened, and now it's coming back. Any ensemble that a student wants to do, anything that a student wants to do, it's like a la carte. If you can find some kids to do it with you, let's do it. We've got kids in every performance ensemble around here.
One of the big things that we're really passionate about is solo and ensemble. Yeah. So we have tons of students that do chamber music before school, during lunches. They get together, they pick music to play. And so we have 3 busloads of kids go on to solo and ensemble. Why? Because it's fun, because they get to be together, not because they're going to receive a rating. No, they're doing it to perform their music and to share that.
Oh, and it's great because they play the Banana Boat song and they dress up in Hawaii outfits. It's so cool. And they'll find any kind of music they can find. We'll have 2 or 3 Banana Boat groups. In our state, you can play anything for solo and ensemble. So if you're listening from a different state and your rules are different, we have kids in the high school that will write a piece of music and then go play it at solo and ensemble. We'll have 3 busloads going to solo and ensemble. 140 to solo and ensemble this year.
Wow. That actually reminds me of, how big is the grade levels in like, how big is the high school? How big is the middle school? How many students are in the school?
So the middle school was built to accommodate between 12 to 1,500, but right now we're overflowed at about 1,800. We've been redistricted. Yeah, we've been redistricted. In 15 years, we've been redistricted at least 3-4 times. Yeah, man, Katie lost 2/3. One year, Katie lost 2/3. She was at 160 something and went down to 59 after the redistrict.
That was 6th graders. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. This year, our middle school, we're looking at about 320 students from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it's going to be busy times for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited about my year coming up. I know this might be odd for some teachers, but I got the lunch prep period. So now my lunch is free. So now it doesn't matter what lunch my kids have, they can come visit me. And that's I believe in the open door policy at lunch, because I do believe that is a huge strength to why kids do things and why you keep the room open. And if I need privacy, I got an office, I can go in there. But I much prefer capturing those kids at any moment that I can.
We have an associate director, Samantha Little. She's wonderful. She helps out anytime one of us needs to be at the middle, or there's usually 2 instructors in a classroom so that we can work individuals while we work ensembles. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Just bring them in during lunch, let them do whatever they can do first thing in the morning. And sometimes they'll be in there doing homework, and I kind of scoff at that a little bit. I want them to do band stuff, but if they're in the room, participation is so key. If they're not there, they can't do anything. Once you get them there, you can do hopefully just about anything with them if you can get the buy-in.
Here's the ultimate question. Have you picked up a kid from keeping your room open? Like, have students joined band as a result of keeping the room open?
Yeah, we got singers for the rock band this year. We pulled them in. They're not in band, and some of the guard comes. Some of the guard that for my marching band is not. But yeah, we'll pick up kids, guitar players. Katie does that all the time.
Yeah, they'll bring in their friends and say, "Hey, my friend wants to join band. Well, come hang out with us for a little while in the morning, see what it's about. And then here, try this clarinet, try this trumpet, see what you think."
Here's a bassoon reed. I'm kidding. That's a hard way to start a kid off. Hey, what do you? Well, I need a bassoon.
It has happened. It has happened.
I believe it. And I was sharing with my audience. I started a music production class a couple of years ago, and what it taught me is there are some amazing musicians on my campus that I had no idea existed. And it's not necessarily that they would join band, but I'm telling you, there's a whole resource of musicians that are out there that you don't know about. Like when you said your rock band, my heart went, oh, because that's some of that. My belief is connecting to all kids, not just the ones in our bands. But I love my band kids. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we got a really good piano player that way. She didn't play an instrument, but she played piano really well.
Yeah, if you want to play any of the, that higher level literature, you got to go out and recruit some of these things. You got to find you a high level piano player, and you don't always have them in the program.
Yeah, if you're playing with something, you're going to need a few piano players here and there.
If anybody wants to donate a harp, we could always use a harp.
And that's how the literature happens, the last couple of years, and granted, I think when I first started teaching, I was a little harder, a little more controlling. But as I've gotten older, like the kids will be playing something that they found, and I'll be like, yeah, I like that. And so they'll work on it and they'll go in the back room. I had to play a piece last year because her 8th graders found the high school sheet music, and we're in the back room just learning it. Come Sunday. And so I walk in, I'm like, hey, that sounds pretty good. I say, why don't you learn it? And if you learn it, we'll play it at the high school. And they called my bluff on it. We had to play it last year. And we had to combine everybody to play it because no one wanted to be left out. And so it was this mega band on stage, big hot mess. But that's where the culture is built. The cultures aren't built necessarily on scores. The cultures are built on experiences.
Well, I think it's important to get the kids involved in the process of things. So like, I think my way that I do is I get a pops concert at the end of the year. That's what I inherit. And that's one of those things that I allow my students to find me the music, bring the music. But when you say your kids are bringing Come Sunday, that means they're engaged, not just inside a band, they're engaged outside of band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have been now picking pieces they would like to play. And this is high level stuff for sure.
Yeah, my last one that my students did was arabesque. They arabesqued me. That's quite the engagement process.
My 8th graders arabesqued me this year, actually. Yes, they said, "Wow, this is an incredible piece," and they got the music, and they're like, "What is this? We can't play this." But we had a flute player, and he learned the solo, and the class is like, "Wow!" And then so we just did a little easy chunk, and then we did more. And then we got them; they were hooked.
And then while they were working arabesque, the high school had played it, a couple of years ago, I guess, that's where they got the music from. I don't know. They go in the library all the time. But we brought her 8th grade class to the high school and sat them in with the second block, my symphonic band, and they got to have a whole rehearsal and play it together with all the band directors in there taking turns conducting. And it was just this free for all playing arabesque. But those are the moments the kids are going to remember, and they're going to come back to band because they want to have that experience again. They want to have that feeling again.
Okay, so now I've got questions about now that we haven't talked much about band itself. So maybe you could talk a little bit about each other's band structure. In other words, how your a typical band rehearsal is at the middle school and a typical band rehearsal at the high school. Give us maybe some insight on how you put things together in your culture.
Well, sure. So they'll come in the room, they'll play a little bit on their own, depending on the day, but generally they'll warm up a bit on their own. We'll start with our fundamentals, of course, the Remington style, articulation and such. Get some basics down, see what we need to do for that day, do some rhythm learning, increase that up. And then we tend to jump right into music. For sixth grade, it'll be from their book. Seventh and eighth grade, we're just going to focus on chorales, playing music, anything that's really exciting to us, to them. And just really pushing the excellence. And again, I like to turn the questions onto the students. I say, well, hey, could you guys hear the melody here? And they'll say, no, generally no. Like, put your sound into the melody, really listen for it. And that will help them to be more focused, not, hey, you're playing too loud. That's much more negative. We like to spin it in the positive way. So focusing on those kind of fundamentals and turning it on them to have the responsibility.
And at the high school, I like to use the 3 T's, tone, tune, technique. And we do warm-ups every day. I teach the warm-ups so that I don't have to do them. When the kids are finally up and running, they'll run the warm-ups themselves, and then the students will go around the room and make comments. If we have more time, say it's at the beginning of the year, then we'll have more time for comments, more time to slow the warm-ups down. As we get closer to the end of a performance cycle, we'll speed the warm-ups up, we'll drop them out. I have a warm-up binders like that thick. I love warm-ups. And I never use the same ones. It's all about what you want. So I had to teach my band a lot of double tonguing and triple tonguing this past year. So I pulled out Honey Boys on Parade, that march. It's got that little part in there where everybody's like, and then the woodwinds. Yeah. So we only played that part, and we played it every day as part of a warm-up. And you go through all your other stuff first, and then you jump right into music. And I'm very fast-paced. That I tell them I can outpace the ensemble any day. Their job is to try and keep up with me. And a lot of days it's how fast can we go? How much music can we get through? For homework and stuff, like Katie does practice records. My thing is I'll give you two things. One, it'll be a notational thing of everything I want you to have completed and what date. It's like my moments, my notes. But then I'll also tell them, whatever we worked on today in class, that's your homework. That's what you practice. It's got to come in better tomorrow. And, that really works, because a lot of times these kids at that high level literature, they need to know exactly what the notation means or what it should sound like. And I don't want them always going out and just listening to recordings all the time. That rote sort of regurgitation of, I heard it on a recording, so here you go. I really like them to come to it on their own. And so by working on it in class and then sending them home to work on it allows me to have a little more control over all that stuff. But yeah, pacing is the key. Fast.
And do either of you have a method for targeting the skills that are necessary to play your literature that you bring into the ensemble? Do you have do you have a system, or is it something that's natural flow for you?
It's just whatever needs to get fixed. Like the start of the year, it's going to be tone. The tone's not going to be good. They haven't played instruments all summer, possibly. So it's going to be all about breathing, embouchure formation, getting the tone well. After that, maybe we'll notice a deficit in the articulation style. So we'll focus on articulation, pull out studies. You can do that on scales. So much of this you can do just on scales and scale passages.
And for me, I like the tone work and tuning are paramount. We do those every day in every piece. So for me, my weakest link is the technique. And so I have to be very cautious and look and pick a piece that's got technique that I've already built, or that I know I can build within a certain amount of time. Like this year we played Imperial March, which has all that triple tonguing in, and yeah, done to get it done, done. And it's got in the middle, it's got that flute part to get it. And if your flutes, if there's 3 parts, they can't triple tongue, they can't play it. And so we started at the beginning of the year working all these different triple tonguing exercises with the whole band, by the way, Yeah,
well, I find your conversations are making me excited, because first off, you said the warming up without having to hold the start. That's how I think I got this whole Culture Before Content podcast. Was I wrote an article on the fact that what your kids do when you're not there is more important than what that does when you are there. And then you talk about triple tonguing, double tonguing, circular breathing. Just tell the kids I learned it one way. I was talking to a student. This was about, gosh, I hate to say this, but when you were in high school, I was teaching it. But I told the kid, you would sound great if you would add some vibrato to this thing. And I think it was an all-state jazz audition back in the day. And he came back and it was beautiful. Like, wow, who taught you that? And he says, well, you told me to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Yes.
wait, that's all it took to teach. And I learned that. Mention it, put it out there. And that's why I think it's important is the culture that you bring. So if you want triple tonguing and you want your kids to do it, there's a couple ways. Either you go through it through a very regimented practice, or you could find informal ways to do it. And guess what happens every time you put something out there? Somebody's bound to learn it.
But it wasn't just learning triple tonguing for triple tonguing. It was learning triple tonguing because we were going to play Darth Vader's March. And it's, that's the culture thing. Why are we doing it? Where's the practical application of why we're learning this?
And it has to be quality. You can't mess up. Everybody knows Darth Vader's March. It has to be really, really good.
And fun. And it's got to be fun. And it's got to be rigorous so they understand that when all the tears dry up and they go out and perform and they get the happy haps from the performance, that outweighs the rigor and the struggle they had to go through to learn it. And that's a life skill.
Can you imagine if we had YouTube when we were these kids' age and all the resources they have that they do not know to use yet? It's incredible. Any kid can learn to do anything.
So audience, we had these things called libraries that we had to go to when we were kids. And sometimes if you wanted to hear, I'm a sax player. What instruments do you play? I forgot to ask.
Clarinet is my main.
I play trumpet. Well, I hold the trumpet pretty well.
See, that's why he's scared of technique. You trumpet players, all you have to do is tongue and breathe. You guys are fine. We ones are doing all the work all the time. I'm not wrong. But what I'm saying is we had to go to the library. And when I was taking private lessons and I had to drive 45 minutes to the university when I was a kid, I had to go search up like maybe recording, try to buy it. And you had to do it by mail. There was, or, if you call this music store in Iowa, but that's long distance. My parents won't let me charge that. You had to pay for long distance. And I remember thinking all this time, the amount of literature that my students can listen to is crazy. That is like the best comment. We're almost to the point where people don't realize you didn't have free access to go to find these resources.
And as far as building culture, I'm not shy about talking to the kids about my personal experiences. I think that makes us real as teachers if we draw from our own personal experiences. And I'll tell them I was in the same boat. I had to drive out to the record bar and go to the very back in the dusty, crusty section where they had the old records. And luckily, remember the old vinyl ones that the colleges would put out, the old Frederick Fennell ones?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, finding music to listen to. Just all I'm saying is the technology that kids have now, there's no reason why they can't succeed. With a little application and a little understanding of just dig in and do the work,
Worse, you can handhold them and put it into their content for their classroom and they can just click on the link for their homework and do it. So, I mean, there's so much more quick access. And that's why I said you talked about the triple tonguing. There's so much access to, there's one of the videos online that I've watched that has a horn player double tonguing, and it's like an X-ray version of it. And you can see it. And it's kind of fascinating because you never know when you're going to inspire a kid to do something besides double tonguing. Maybe they like the medical side of it. And again, that's our job. We're inspirers of our future generations using music as our content.
Life skills. I use that a lot in the class, that statement. We're learning, it's all about band, but it has nothing to do with band. We're learning life skills right now. How to work short-term goals to get that long-term goal. That's what they're doing.
And with the quality, we talk a lot about doctors. We now have students that are becoming doctors we're so proud of, or pilots. I mean, do you want a pilot that's only going to land 99% of the time correctly? 100%. We talk about getting that excellence all the time and striving for that.
Yeah, that Jack Stamp video about, everybody making that one wrong note, we call it band math. If everybody makes one wrong note and there's 30 people in the band, now you got a 70. And again,
maybe that's the difference. We live in a culture. If we have 100 people and 99 people do it right, one person does it wrong, we all take the fault.
Weakest link. And, it's building that team versus everybody as an individual. And that's difficult because everybody relates to different things and everybody wants different things, but you got to find that one piece or that one thing in the classroom that's going to draw everybody together. And once you can find that, then they'll play anything you want.
That's the fun of starting up each new year because it's always different. What's going to inspire this group of sixth graders this year? We're going to find out.
Oh, you just reminded me of a question. So, sixth grading, besides, I mean, you said you talked to the kids in fifth grade. Do you have any special tricks you have for recruiting kids into the sixth grade band?
There is an entire hour-long speech, and it covers every reason why they might not want to join, but that they should join. Trips, you can do sports and band. Absolutely. We have that family team. We have an instrument if your parents can't afford one. So we go through every single reason, and we use the Be Part of the Band videos. I show those every year to the fifth graders because then they get an idea of, oh, this person plays my instrument. I like the way it sounds. Those are great. Be part of our band videos. Yes.
How about the high school recruitment? I mean, besides the fact that you get one of your feeders is very easy to recruit from. What about, do you have other feeders? I take it.
Nope.
Just the one? Oh, it's just a
one.
straight shot.
It's just a straight shot. Whoever she has in eighth grade, I try and get them. And, I mean, some people move out and, you're always going to have a little attrition, but we try and get as many as possible. And we'll use any trick in the book, letting them switch instruments, letting them be in a class with their friends. Now we do keep that first block safe because that's the National Performing Ensemble. But other than that block, the kids are open to do whatever they want to do. Rock band, guard. I mean,
amazing.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. As long as they're in the class.
I did have one more school-based question for you because I forgot. Are you on block schedule or regular? Are you on a 7 period day or a block day? How are the middle school and high school schedules for the periods?
So the middle school, 7th and 8th grade is on block scheduling every other day it's 80 minutes, but time to take out instruments. The 6th grade I see every day for a half a block. So 40 minutes.
The high school is on the block schedule, and I gotta give a shout out to the school and the counselors because I was raised when I first started teaching, it was on the block. So I've only ever really taught in the block or a modified block like over at the middle school. And if your counselors are on board and if your school's on board with understanding that the ensemble element, this kid plays bassoon, he's got to be in the class. Once your school understands that and you get the kids coming up, there's really nothing. And like you mentioned earlier, the applications for things apply. Because once you get a good recording, it's self-fulfilling. Every year you can do something else as long as you continue to maintain that standard of excellence.
It's like the snowball rolling down the hill. You've got to keep that rolling. That was tough over COVID for all of us because the ball kind of stopped for a minute. And getting it pushing again has been a really fun challenge. Keep it rolling.
Oh, COVID. All right. So it's, believe it or not, our time has hit an end. Does it not go super fast?
Yeah.
There's so many
All
things.
right. To our listeners, we have 2 email addresses. And I always say this, email the people we talk to. It's amazing. I find that the best thing to do is create connections. So it's Katie.Ebert, which is KATIE.EBERT, and Todd Ebert, TODD.EBERT at ucps.k12.nc.us. So it's Katie.Ebert at ucps.k12.nc.us and Todd.Ebert, and you can do the rest. Hopefully you can back up a little bit if you were listening to this. Anyway, before you go, so we're thinking final thoughts. Maybe some final thoughts for I don't even know what that word was. Our audience. What would be some final parting advice that you have for our audience?
I've got one. So we've been teaching now in our 20th and so years. You got to keep it fun. For you have to keep it fun. Burnout is such a big thing in our profession because it can be so much. So the fun can be in, hey, 6th graders, we played our first note. Great job. It can be, hey, we're all playing the same note now. We're going to celebrate that because that's awesome. You couldn't do that yesterday. That's really cool. Somebody plays a beautiful solo for the class, makes everybody cry because it's gorgeous. That's awesome. That's something we want to celebrate, and that's fun. So you've got to keep the fun in this job for you and your students.
And I would say, find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Find people that will help you with those weaknesses, what your strengths are. Work on those to a really high level. And above anything else, the students know when you're passionate. The students, I mean, you work in a situation in a classroom with students where you're building emotion every day, or at least if you're playing good music, you should be feeling emotion. The students know when it's real. So be emotional, be passionate, and do the things that you're going to be emotional and passionate about. And the students will follow that.
Amazing advice. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please email if you have any questions or just want to talk band, because this is what we do.
Yeah, we love to talk band.
That's great. All right, audience, thank you so much for coming this week. That was really fantastic. And I do want to reiterate, I can't even speak today, reiterate that it is amazing how the energy of the directors is always so influential on the energy of their band program, and what a dynamo. But thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Culture Before Content here on the Music for All podcast network. We immensely thank Yamaha for their continued support as our national presenting sponsor. Remember to share on your socials, tell a friend, do anything. And I hope to see you all next week. Bye-bye.